Subodaya.
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 Subodaya. Good morning. In Croatia we say Dobra Utra. And in Italy we say Buongiorno, that's good day.
Buongiorno.
Okay, this is a very famous verse from the 30th chapter of the 4th canto. A famous verse, it's often spoken of. So we don't have any monitor to flash the board, do we?
We have not read.
But we need a laptop for that.
Okay, so maybe you can follow me. I'll try to read it so you can follow. Some of the words are a little difficult. But this is from the 4th canto, chapter 30, verse number 8. And this is the activities of the Prachetas. And this verse is spoken by Lord Vishnu himself. So the Supreme Lord is speaking this verse. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Varam Videdvam Bhadram Bhohu.
Varam Videdvam Bhadram Bhohu.
Varam Vinidram Bhadram Bhohu.
Varam Videdvam Bhadram Bhohu.
Yuyame Nirpanandanaha.
Yoyam me Nipanandanaha.
Yuyame Nirpanandanaha.
Yoyam me Nipanandanaha.
Sarvadena Pritag Dharmas.
Sarvadena Pritag Dharmas.
Sarvadena Pritag Dharmas.
Sarvadena Pritag Dharmas.
Tustoham Sarvadena Va.
Tustoham Sarvadena Va.
Tustoham Sarvadena Va.
Tustoham Sarvadena Va.
Someone begin. Chant.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Varam Vrindvaham Badram Vo.
Varam Vrindaham Bhadram Vo.
Yuyam me Nrupanandanaha.
Yuyam me Nipanandanaha.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Tustoham Sahrudena Vaha.
Tustoham Sarvadena Vaha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo.
Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo.
Yuyam me Nirpanandanaha.
Yuyam me Nipanandanaha.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Tustoham Sarvadena Va.
Tustoham Sarvadena Vaha.
Ladies.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo.
Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Vo.
Yuyam me Nripanandanaha.
Yuyam me Vitanandanaha.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Sauhardena Pritag Dharmas.
Tustoham Sahradena Vaha.
Tustoham Sarvadena Vaha.
Okay. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
Varam,
Varam,
benediction,
benediction,
Vinidvam,
Vinidvam,
ask,
ask,
Bhadram,
Bhadram,
good fortune,
good fortune,
Va,
Va,
of you,
of you,
Yuyam,
Yuyam, you,
may, from me, Nirpanandanaha,
Nipanandanaha,
O sons of the king,
O sons of the king,
Saradena,
Sarvadena,
O by friendship, apratak, non-different, dharma, occupation, tusta, pleased, aham, I, sarvadena, by friendship, va, of you. So Lord Vishnu speaking, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear sons of the King, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction from me." These sons, these are the Prachetas, 9 boys who were sons of King Prachinabarhisha. So the Lord is pleased, and he is ready to award a benediction. And Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since the sons of King Prachinabarhisha were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of King Prachinabarhisha was an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. In the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions, and consequently, they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in the society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to having different opinions and leaning towards material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there's some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachinabarhisha. Om Gyan Timidandasya Gyanayana
Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganadatam
Vitam Sajivam
Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suye Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakaripatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Oh, this verse is one of the more interesting and fundamental pillars, because here it just shows what pleases the Lord. The Lord gives his preference to what he says here. You have one occupation, devotional service, and you're all friendly amongst each other and you're working together. Therefore, I'm so satisfied to see that this is your good fortune, and because of that, please ask some benediction from me. In other words, the Lord's prepared to give whatever they ask because he's so pleased. And here, the principle is unity. How to become united. Just like you might sit at the bank of a river, and then there's some stones on the shore. So if you throw the stones in the water, if you keep hitting the same place, and then there's concentric circles and they just keep going out. But if the stones hit in different places, then the circles clash with each other. So when there's a center, there's unity. And when there's center, there is what we use a very common word now, synergy, working together in a very energetic way. So here, it explains that when devotees keep focused, the goal of what is the goal is to serve the Supreme Lord. And there might be different ways, and there is, to serve that Supreme Lord. People have their different proclivities. They also have different ways of how they would like to serve the Lord. And that is also called diversity. When you try to kill diversity in the name of unity, you don't make unity either. You kill both. We have to allow for diversity, but the center has to be the goal. And the center is how to somehow work in a cooperative way to serve the Lord. And when the Lord sees that, he's very happy. And that is actually unity. So there may be different ways to serve the Lord. Now, Prabhupada also mentioned something interesting. Sometimes there's disagreements on how best to serve the Lord. Just like you're making a temple here. So you might have different ideas on how the temple should proceed. How much money should we spend on it? How should the design actually come? In other words, there may be different ways, different ideas on how to make this temple happen. But that disagreement is considered to be spiritual because the focus is to build the temple. But there may be different ideas. So then when devotees discuss and come to some conclusion, of course there has to be something settled, and then everything goes on nicely. But Prabhupada says here, why is there a disagreement even in spiritual circles? He says, to disagreement because of two things. One, different opinions, my opinion, and sometimes our material, leading towards material things. We are not always purely motivated in the idea of service. We sometimes think, what can I get from doing this service? What benefits I should get, or how it could come out in different ways, how that benefit should. In other words, I'm looking for something this is called fruitive activity. Working for serving the Lord, but looking for some material gain on a personal level. So Prabhupada said that causes a type of disunity. So when people think only of how to serve the Lord nicely, then there's unity and everyone becomes satisfied, because when the Lord is satisfied, everyone becomes satisfied. We were talking about that also, how that because we are connected to the Lord in devotion, then when the Lord is satisfied, that connection allows us to feel the same. We feel happy, we feel satisfied, we feel fulfilled when we serve the Lord, and he's pleased by that service. Even the non-devotees may also get some benefit from that, because Krishna is connected to every living entity For the non-devotees, it's less direct or indirect. For the devotees, it's directly. So here, you're trying to build a nice temple, and there's always difference of opinion, because there's so many big intelligence in one place, and they clash sometimes. Sometimes we get a little bit overwhelmed. We say, my way or the highway. If you don't do it my way, I'm not going to participate anymore. So, but we have to somehow or other understand that. Prabhupada said sometimes there's two disagreements on how things should go on. And if you analyze it, one way may be 90% good in terms of how it should happen, another one may be 80%. But then he said if you fight, everything is lost. Better to take the 80% and cooperate. If that's, so what he's saying is cooperation should supersede even differences of opinion. And what is the cooperation setting? We want to please the Lord. We want to offer this temple to the Lord in order for we can bring more and more people into Krishna consciousness, spread Lord Chaitanya's movement of the Sankirtan, and that pleases the Lord because the Lord comes to the material world simply to do the same thing, to uplift the conditioned souls and to bring them back to his lotus feet. So when we act as his representatives, then, and we please him by that, that's the best way to please the Lord. And pleasing the Lord is the perfection of devotional service. When the Lord is pleased, there's nothing you need to aspire for. Everything comes, because when the Lord is pleased, he is called Mula. Mula means root. When you water the root, the branches, the twigs, the flowers, the leaves, everything, the trunk, everything gets the benefit of the watering process. But if you try to water each of these items individually, the tree will die. So putting the root on the water on the tree means keeping the Lord's idea, in other words, trying to please the Lord. So Prabhupada says we have to find out what is the plan of the Lord. The plan of the Lord can be understood by approaching those who are the pure devotees who represent the Lord. They know the plan of the Lord. In the 7th canto, there's a particular pastime. It's interesting pastime when the demons and the devotees were fighting. The devas and the asuras were fighting. The asuras had Mayadanava on their side. And Mayadanava is a mystic yogi. He's powerful. And he had created this lake of elixir. So when a demon was killed, they would throw him into the lake and they would come back alive with more strength than he had even before. And so the demigods were getting frustrated. They were killing the demons, but they were coming back and fighting even more. So they went to Lord Brahma and said, this is the situation. So Brahma contacted Shiva and said, we have a mission. I'll become a cow and you become a calf. And so they transferred themselves. And then they came into the assembly of the fight, and they went right to the pond and started drinking it. So the cow and the calf were drinking the elixir of youth. And then Mayadanava was watching, and he was thinking, this is the plan of the Lord. In other words, nobody tried to stop it because they understood that this was a higher plan. So Prabhupada speaks, he says, you have your plan, I have my plan, she has her plan, But the plan of the Lord is the plan that unites everyone into the successful plan. So finding out the plan of the Lord. But one thing we know about the plan of the Lord is cooperation. And in Kali Yuga, cooperation is very difficult. Kalo, dear Doshanidi and Rajan, there's so many faults. And this is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. People will quarrel for anything. People will fight over a penny. or people will have a disagreement over something so insignificant that it's even not even worth the subject matter. So this is the age of this. So disunity is very strong in this age, and Prabhupada diverts telling how people in the material world cannot unite. It's not possible because they all have different interests. Just like when you throw the stones in different places, you get different circles. Therefore, there's never any unity. So the biggest attempt in the world was the United Nations to bring some type of unity. And so they sent their representatives into this building, and they would discuss how to become united. But there's no, you can see, when the United Nations was devised in what year? 1947, right after the Second World War. Has there been any peace in the world? No. Why? Because each individual nation has its own interest. And so they come to present their own interest rather than see what is the bigger interest, or the interest that fulfills everyone's desire. But they can't find that connection because they have no understanding of what that is. They all are based on individualism. So in the material world, you'll see, because people cannot become united, what happens? More and more diversity. This group, this group, this group. So in order to find unity, they keep breaking into smaller groups. And it just continues to go like that. And then the groups also are disunited also. So there's only one way to unite, and that's around the Supreme Lord. Because He is the well-wisher, He is the source, and the ultimate principle of all existence. So when we try to satisfy Him, everybody from every nation, from every walk of life, from every background in life, can find unity amongst others, because we're all united about a common, it has to be a common interest before unity can actually manifest. But in devotional service, what is the combination, as it says here? We're all trying to serve the Lord. That's all. And again, if there's some disagreement, that can be worked out, but we have to keep the service going and not get stuck in the disagreements like that. And that requires some leadership, that requires some visionaries to keep everything going, moving in the right direction, and everybody working in that same way. And when we can cooperate to make that happen, it becomes wonderful. There is like something miraculous happens. Everything becomes easy. When there's no unity, and then when there's disagreement, you struggle to get things done. People are struggling. As soon as that unity comes, cooperation starts to develop. Krishna, or the Lord, comes in and He makes everything happen. It becomes easy. It's like you don't even do anything anymore. You're doing something, but not in the same capacity or the same intensity that you had tried before when you were united. It becomes so easy, so natural. So this is the secret of success in Krishna consciousness, is to create an environment where devotees can keep the ultimate goal in life. That's why we preach all the time. The essence of Krishna consciousness is service, and the essence of service is to serve the devotees. By serving the Lord, the essence is to serve the Lord, and the best way to serve the Lord is to serve the devotees. So when all the devotees are serving each other, the Lord is also pleased, and He is also happy by that service. Here it says, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships amongst you. So they developed, although they were brothers, they worked together in a united way, and they developed friendships amongst themselves. Sometimes we say familiarity breeds indifference, or sometimes even contempt. When we get familiar with someone, after a while we minimize their importance or take advantage of their presence. And we don't really understand or appreciate what was there when things started. We sort of, what they say, familiarity breeds indifference. And so we should not become familiar. We should always see that every devotee is as important as every other devotee. And however, whatever that devotee can contribute, one should be recognized and appreciated as just as good as Srila Prabhupada would say, the person who's in there cleaning the floor of the temple is just as good as the book distributor out there distributing books, because they're both serving the Supreme Lord. And that's the point. When Ram was trying to build a bridge over the ocean in order to reach Lanka, the monkeys were there. And Hanuman was the most powerful of all monkeys. So Ram was writing his name on the rocks, and they were throwing the rocks into the ocean. And gradually, there was a few devoted monkeys who were engineers, they were IT experts. They knew how to put the rocks together. They made some nice bridge. So Hanuman was throwing these big boulders in, and there was a little squirrel. Some people say spider or squirrel. He wanted to help. And so he was kicking some grains of sand into the ocean. And Hanuman was thinking, he's getting in the way. This is man's work, step aside, squirrel. So when he was acting like that, Ram said, he corrected Hanuman. He said, he is doing much as you are doing. You are working to your capacity, he's working to his capacity. That's bhakti. It's not because someone is more qualified materially, that service is more appreciated, not by Krishna. What he sees is the mood, the devotional mood, and not so much the activity. The activity also, but that is secondary. So by appreciating each and every devotee, then that devotee becomes more and more enlivened in their service, and then a type of unity develops where everyone sees that everyone else is serving better than I am. Although maybe I'm in a position of making plans and decisions, still everyone else is better than me because they're serving. Srila Prabhupada would say, he said, I'm seeing all of my disciples as my spiritual masters. Why? Because I came here to preach, and my spiritual master is helping me by sending you to me to assist me in my service to my spiritual master. Therefore, you are as good as my spiritual master. Said that. He was seeing his disciples as representatives of his spiritual master. Therefore, he was serving his disciples because he was seeing them as representatives of his spiritual master. But that's the proper consciousness, to see other devotees not only to work together, but to see that their service is more important than mine. And that's natural. That's human. What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. But they're doing so much. Like that. And Prabhupada would always point that out, too, sometimes when the devotees would think, well, I'm doing such big service. Prabhupada would show them, you're nothing, just to deflate the idea that, I'm so important. I told the story, was it last night? No, that was this morning I told the story. There was one devotee, he was very close to Srila Prabhupada, highly qualified, did many service, was also a spiritual master after Prabhupada left. And Prabhupada was in Los Angeles. That was Prabhupada had established Los Angeles Temple as the headquarters of our society in the West. The actual headquarters is Mayapur. He said that is our headquarters worldwide. But in the West, it was Los Angeles. So Prabhupada was there with this devotee, and Prabhupada said, the material world is one one quarter the size of all existence. The other 3/4 is the spiritual world. So the spiritual world is 3/4 bigger than the material world. And he said, in the spiritual world, there are so many living entities. It's uncountable. And therefore, and even in the material world, which is only 1/4 of all of the existence, there is so many living entities. And in that 1/4 realm, there are so many universes. And Prabhupada said, Koti, millions of universes. It's mentioned in Shastra also, there are millions of universes. And Prabhupada said, in that so many universes, there are so many living entities. And in those universes, there are so many planets. And on every planet, there are so many uncountable number of living entities. And then Prabhupada said, and here we are in one of the universe, and we're on one planet in the universe called Earth. And there's so many living entities here, it's uncountable. And then Prabhupada said, on Earth there are so many countries. And in so many countries, there's so many uncountable, numerous living entities. And then he said, and here we are in one of the countries, United States of America, and there's so many living entities, we can't even count them. And here in the United States of America, there is one particular state called California, and there are so many living entities in that state of California. And in that state of California, there's so many cities, and one of them is Los Angeles. And there's so many living entities, uncountable in Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, there's so many streets, and there's so many living entities, but there's one street called Watsika Boulevard, and in that Watsika Boulevard, there are so many living entities, it's uncountable. And in Watsika Boulevard, there's one house called the Hare Krishna Temple, and there are so many living entities in that Hare Krishna Temple, and there's one living entity who thinks he's important. So, yeah, he went through that whole thing just to make the point. I'm not going to say who that was. You can listen to Prabhupada and you'll find out. Anyway, the tendency is that if we have so many qualifications, abilities, and previous successes in life, we carry a certain attitude. But that attitude is not really what we say acceptable in devotional life, nor to Krishna. Devotees always think, I'm insignificant. If I can do anything, it's by the mercy of the Lord. If I can become successful in my Krishna consciousness, it's because of the association of devotees. The devotee thinks like that, and they don't think, well, I'm special. The devotee should honor me because I've been around longer. And I chant more rounds than they do. So all of these things really don't attract the Lord. In fact, the Lord becomes unhappy when the devotee acts in that mood. So a devotee always thinks, let me serve the other devotees, and that will please Krishna very much. And we develop unity amongst each other. There's Candramauli Maharaj talks about this one story that illustrates this point, wherein one man, he made it to heaven. So St. Peter is in charge of heaven. So he's sitting with St. Peter and he says, St. Peter, what's the difference between heaven and hell? So St. Peter said, come on, we'll go to hell, and I'll show you. So they arrive in hell, and it's dinner time. So there's a big table, round table, and everyone sits around the big round table. And then all of the food is in the middle of the table. And everybody has these long forks. Wherever they sit, they can reach the food with the long fork. So, and then the bell rings, and that means everyone can now begin eating. So they all bring their forks out, and they're all trying to get the food in the middle. And they're all going for the food, and it's clashing. They're knocking each other's fork down, and everything falls. Nobody can eat, and everybody's getting frustrated. And so he said, that's hell. So then he said, well, teach me what is heaven. She said, all right, let's go. We go back to heaven, and there, same thing, round table, food's in the middle, time to eat, everyone's sitting around, they all have long forks, and the bell rings, and everybody puts their fork and starts feeding the other person next to them, and everybody gets to eat. Difference between hell and heaven. So yeah, so these little antidotes kind of give us a nice understanding of the mood of a Vaishnava, that it's very pleasing to the Lord. The mood of service without trying to become what we say, thinking oneself is better than other, or, yeah. You may be better on one level, but somebody else is better on another level. So what is the use? You may be better in making big plans, and someone may be better in sweeping the floor. And Krishna sees each activity as being equal because it is service. He sees the service attitude and not so much the service. The attitude is what attracts Krishna. And the attitude is to please the Lord and to develop friendship with devotees. And before you can develop friendship, you need to develop trust. And trust comes by learning how to work together. Friendship and trust. And when you have such a project like this, these are the requirements for success. This project can can probably happen in 6 months, or it can take 10 years. It's depending on you. Depending on you. Of course, the money is there. There's never a shortage of money because Krishna is Dhananjaya. He is the reservoir of all wealth. He has all wealth, and he can send millions of dollars in a moment if he wants to. He is all powerful, but he wants to see if we can qualify to receive his mercy. And that qualification comes by developing, as it says here, the Lord says, please take a benediction. I can see you work nicely together, you're friendly, you develop this mood of devotional service. I'm so pleased. Ask anything. Can you imagine if the Lord said to you, ask anything? What would you ask for? This happened when Lord Chaitanya was here. He was at the 21 Mahaprakash Leela, was at the house of Srivas. The Lord took the position of accepting service as the Supreme Lord, which he rarely does. Because Lord Chaitanya's mood was to act in the mood of a devotee. He was never taking the position of the Supreme. But this time he did, and all the devotees became really, really inspired and really happy. And at one point, after serving the Lord in so many different ways, the Lord turned to everyone and said, ask a benediction. And he pointed to different. Haridas, ask a benediction. Advaita, ask a benediction. What was his name? Sridhar, ask a benediction. Srivas. He was asking all of his devotees to ask a benediction. And what were they asking? My dear Lord, give me devotion to you. My dear Lord, make my father a devotee. My dear Lord, make my friend a devotee. Nobody was asking anything for themselves. They were always asking for someone else. The Lord was really pleased. At one time, they said, give Mukunda pure devotion to you. The Lord became somewhat silent, and then he was becoming very disturbed. And he said, Mukunda, he's an offender. Now Mukunda was one of the key kirtan leaders that would sing for Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya loved his singing, he would dance. Now they're asking for benediction for Mukunda. Mukunda is also there. He's listening. He's at a distance. And the Lord said, Mukunda is like a person who comes and worships your lotus feet and then takes a stick and beats you on the head. The devotees were shocked. And then the Lord said, I don't want to see Mukunda I don't ever want to see Mukunda again. Keep him away from me. Wow. When Mukunda heard that, he was crying. He was just devastated. But the devotees didn't give up. They said, please show your mercy, Mukunda. He's such a nice devotee. The Lord said he goes out and he listens to other persons speaking philosophical teachings, and whatever they say, he agrees with them. There's people who are like that. Whenever you're with that person, they'll agree with everybody. If they agree, oh yeah, I agree with you, but I also agree with you. Even though you don't agree with him, I still agree with you. I agree. They want to be known as a person who agrees with everybody. There's people like that. Sometimes we're like that also. We want to agree with everybody, but sometimes, but in the long run, it has a different effect that we actually regret it after a while. So the Lord said, I don't ever want to see him again. And then the devotees didn't give up. But then they start glorifying Mukunda, they start praying to the Lord, please give him. And then the Lord said, all right, Mukunda, he can come and see me after 10 million births. So he gave compromise. He can come and see me after 10 million births. And then when Mukunda heard that, he became happy, ecstatic. He started dancing. He's saying 10 million births, 10 million births, only 10 million births. I will see, I will see. And then the Lord really kind of recognized him over there dancing. He said, all right, bring him. He was willing to wait for the Lord's mercy. And then, of course, when he showed that, yes, whatever the Lord says, I accept. But when the Lord apparently made it very difficult, he said, 10 million bears. Still, I have a chance. Someday I will get mercy. Sometimes we think, I want to go back home, back to Godhead. How many lifetimes do I have to wait? How many lifetimes will it take? Well, whatever it takes, I'm not going to ever give up. Even if it takes 1,000 lifetimes, I'll continue to stay in devotional service because I know eventually I will achieve success. The devotee is patient. So when we're working together, we also have to develop that mental patience. Because sometimes things happen fast, and sometimes things don't happen like that. And so working enthusiastically and still be patient. Just like sometimes one person was telling me, nowadays, when you want something, you can get it immediately, right? We got Amazon, right? You just push a button and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Amazon is ever there to fulfill all your desires. He kicked out Santa Claus. And he's there. So now you can get anything practically, immediately from the other side of the world. But does that really mean that we should consider devotional service the same way? No. One devotional service is the highest achievement that the soul can practically reach. Therefore, it requires some patience. But without giving up enthusiasm. If we give up enthusiasm because we can't develop patience, then nothing will happen. Therefore, Lord Rupa Goswami gives the formula. Utsahan, enthusiasm, Nishchaya, determination, even though there may be obstacles, continue to try. And then Darya means patience, to be patient. And patience is a quality. It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So patience is a feminine quality. Men don't have much patience. Women have a lot of patience. Why? Because they have to deal with men. That's why they have so much patience. Anyway, but Prabhupada uses the example that when a man and a woman get married, the woman's thinking, where's the child? Well, yes, everything is in place, but in due course of time, then the child will come, not immediately. So when everything is in place, you're working in the proper mood, with the proper understanding, then in due course of time, by Krishna's mercy, everything will manifest in time. Like that. And as I mentioned earlier, when there's cooperation, trust, and friendship amongst devotees, and appreciation for each and every devotee, then things happen really fast. Really fast, because Krishna is very pleased, and then he starts to make things happen. And when he starts to make things happen, it's fast. You'll see, it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm anything special. When I was at Sadhu Sangha, using the elevator, maybe you had some experience. So I was really tired. I came to the elevators and it was a long line. And there was one very big gentleman there, he was conducting, and he was kind of rough on everybody. So I came on the other side, and he said, get in line, he said to me, like that. I didn't move, I stood where I was. And then he started ordering everybody else around. And he see that I didn't move. I just stayed there, and I didn't argue with him, I didn't say anything, I just moved and stayed there. And then he looked at me and he called the lady over, take him to the service elevator and bring him up. So I got an immediate ride up. That's Krishna. Krishna said, hey, give him a break. So yeah, it wasn't him, Krishna in the heart. Because Krishna in the heart can change, even the demons have to listen to Krishna in the heart, because they don't recognize it's Krishna in the heart, they think it's them. Yeah. So Krishna can speak to anyone and make anything happen. So if we have that understanding, we please Krishna, Krishna becomes so satisfied by devotees working together in a unified way. And there's always disagreements, but these things shouldn't cause things to break down. They should be worked out in due course of time and continue to work on. And now ultimately there has to be some decision made in every way, so we can keep moving on the right path. Okay, this is a noble attempt, and to build a temple is not an easy thing. And there's always obstacles, especially from the secular society, this rule, that rule, this restriction, this requirement, this tax, so many things. But we can get through all of that with the mode of cooperation. It'll eventually manifest like that. And it says, if you build a temple for the Lord on this level, he builds a temple for you in the spiritual world. That's in Shastra. So, the Lord likes when we actually build temples to attract the conditioned souls. Prabhupada said, when I came to the West, I could have sat underneath the tree and just chanted Hare Krishna. But who would have came? He said, I made this big effort to open these temples just to attract people to come and hear about Krishna, come to associate with devotees, and come to chant Hare Krishna. He's used the temples as a basis for spreading Krishna consciousness, so they're very important. We want these temples more and more, but it's a very, how do we say, it's an ultimate effort on our time and energy, so we have to realize that the goal is worth it. Whatever sacrifice we can make, the goal is that Krishna is pleased, and if Krishna is pleased, tattva deham purna janmani naitimam iti sorjuna, then your ticket back to Godhead is already being written out. In due course, he'll hand it to you. Okay, so we'll stop there. Any questions, comments, anything on any level? Any disagreements with the class?
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for coming and giving such a important instruction. So one interesting thing, as you said, Maharaj, like sometimes we think this is the right thing and this is the greatest thing we can achieve, but if that doesn't create cooperation, then the best thing might be the cooperation. Like how do we really understand what?
Yeah, it takes some intelligence, takes some discrimination, and also takes some thoughtfulness. Yeah, when you're doing something like this, there are many avenues you can go down. So, therefore, those who are given that position to make the decisions on how things go on, they should work out and discuss it, and ultimately come to some conclusion. But if we don't come to conclusion, we simply fight. I saw one temple in America. They were fighting for years over how much they should spend on the temple. One wanted to spend $6 million, the other one wanted to spend $10 million. And because of that, all of the construction practically stopped. It did. I think finally now they are over that hurdle. So yeah, there will be disagreements on how big the temple should be, how it should be designed, how much money we should spend in order to make it happen. Yeah. But all these things have to be discussed and worked out. You can't just fight forever. And then usually we divert to people who have the most experience, and we can accept that their experience is more, what we say, in line with what we need to do. So there has to be some leadership. If there's no leadership, then there is no cooperation. Leadership is meant to bring about cooperation. Leadership is meant to create the vision. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yes, Srimati?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much very much. So we have a lot of services.
I can hear you, but barely.
We have a lot of services, and each one has different inclination towards one particular service. And so how do we select doing a particular service, like based on our inclination or based on...
That's it. That requires some leadership to make sure that all of the services are going on and everyone is engaged in service. If everyone wants to do the same service, then how will you complete any project?
True.
Obviously, every project has diversity. So, yeah. Everyone wants to, cook. But that may not always be possible. Some people have to buy the vegetables, some have to cut the vegetables, some have to serve it out. So, yeah, division of labor. That's also part of unity. Just like you go to Jagannath Puri, when they put the Rath Yatra program together every year, the different families traditionally have a particular service to make Rath Yatra happy. Just like when they paint the carts are painted with green, yellow, red, and blue. 4 colors they use. And one family will paint the yellow, one family will paint the green, one will paint the blue, the other one the red. Not every family does everything, but each of the families contribute to the colors like that. So they're all satisfied. Some people are meant to go out and bring the wood in, so that's designated. So in other words, there's different services that need to be done, and that has to be designated. Different people do different services. And qualifications should be the inclination of who is the most qualified to do this service. And one should appreciate that. Oh, that person's more qualified, and therefore that's good, and please Krishna. Just like in the spiritual world, sometimes one devotee will see, one gopi will see another gopi serving Krishna nicely, and Krishna becomes pleased. And she also thinks, oh, Krishna's being served so nicely, let me try to serve Krishna nicely also. So she's inspired to do something even better than the other person. And who wins? Krishna. He gets a competition of who can serve him better. So we can have competition on who can serve better, but it's not based on, enmity or envy or what we say, getting some, praise or some glorification. No. If someone is doing the service really nicely, and that person is getting some glorification, some praise, we should be happy. Let me also do something nice to also please Krishna, to help the project out. So yeah, obviously there has to be organization. Nothing can go on. Just like in the family, the mother has her service, the father has his service. The children know, how to behave with both the fathers, and everything goes on nicely. And if that's not there, there's always breakdown in communications and things don't go on. Everyone has their responsibility. And Krishna doesn't say, well, because you're doing this service, you're more dear to me. No. Of course, he does say that. If you preach Krishna consciousness, then you become very dear. But that's there for everybody. That's not restricted. Anybody and everyone can preach. Yes, Suma.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, one who wanted to serve, but due to some difficulties or some situations, they couldn't able to serve. Like, this is like a big project. We have so many opportunities to serve, but due to their conditions, they were not able to serve. But how can help themselves to understand their ability and not feeling bad to not doing any service or
Well, if they can't do one service, they should take an opportunity to do some service. Not that I have to do this service. This is my service. If you can do what you're good at, that's good. But if there's so many people good at the same thing, obviously not everyone should do that, because you need other services have to go on also. So that cooperation there. So therefore, the devotees have to be humble. You have to be humble. It says that if you do your service improperly, it's better than doing someone else's service correctly. That's in the Bhagavad Gita. There's 2 statements. One who does their duty, one who gives up their duty to do another's duty, will not, even if they do it properly, they will not be accepted. One has to do their own duty. So everyone finds their duty within the relationship to the project, and then does their service like that. And everyone benefits. You can help another with their service, that's also Vaishnava. We help each other, but still, you have to do your service. And everyone should be giving a chance to serve in some capacity. Some people can be fundraisers. Some people can work with the secular society to help move things along. Others can work with the construction people to help see how things are going on and how to improve them. So everyone has talents. When there's unity and when there's unity with diversity, then that's perfection. That's our philosophy. Achintya Bheda Tattva, unity in diversity. Yeah. GitaMandir?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. We would like you to come every year to be associated with this project and then provide your valuable
Well, I
suggestions.
hope by next year the temple's complete. You can do it. Yeah, it shouldn't take you that long.
Thank you.
But if it's not, it should be almost complete. Yeah, the world needs these temples. People are suffering. Bring more people to Krishna. The temples make devotees, automatically. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for all the instructions and wonderful class. So, just wanted to ask you one question, Maharaj. As you said, there will always be some disagreements between the devotees and the team and everybody.
That's natural.
So, how do we keep ourselves enthusiastic throughout the program without getting?
You have to always keep respect amongst the devotees. If you lose respect for each other, then everything will go to hell. Always keep the respect. Even though you disagree, that's one thing, but don't give up, don't become disrespectful in the disagreement. You can disagree without being mean-spirited or disrespectful. If you're attached to if you're so attached to what you say, then you become unhappy when it's not happening. We should present it as a way to do things, or a way to improve things. If it's accepted, we're happy. If it's not accepted, something will be accepted. Yeah. Prabhupada said, wherever there's two people, there's two opinions. It's just the way it is. But still, we have this project, and it requires what we say, diversity in different services, and unity in the mood of serving the Lord and serving the devotee. I've seen families break down when the husband tries to tell the wife how to do everything in the kitchen. I had to chase a few husbands out. They bring me in to be the mediator. I tell the husband, your wife's coming to your office and she's going to tell you how to run your office. And then they get a little scared, So yeah, everyone should do their service. The husband can give advice but not control. The wife can do the same. She can give advice but not control.
And another question, Maharaj, like how do we improve our relationships within the team? Like how do we improve our relationships? Like
Well, I think having programs, chanting, prasadam, hearing classes, that will help. That's why we come together, not only to serve, but to build relationships amongst each other. Sadhu Sangha. Prabhupada said, I've established these temples in order for devotees to interact in such a way that we can fulfill the 6 loving relationships. It's mentioned in Nectar Devotion, there's 6 loving relationships between Vaishnavas. And Prabhupada really puts it right straight. He says, I've created these temples to facilitate these 6 loving relationships. And when devotees are working together in a cooperative way, and we develop real friendship with other devotees, and things, as it says here, Krishna becomes so pleased. And even if there are disagreements, that's not so much. We can agree to disagree. Disagreements will be, when there's that relationships that we've built amongst each other, then the disagreements become very insignificant, and we can work it out based on our relationships. But when we try to say my way or the highway, then nothing happens. But when people have certain skills, and they should be recognized for those skills and given that service. Yeah. That's where leadership comes to see who's qualified to do what service, and then and designate accordingly. That makes sense? Want to add something? No? You're a manager. She's a really good manager. If she comes in here, the temple will take her off. She manages everything. I give her all of the projects to manage. And she asks me, is this okay? I say, I don't know. You know more than I do. Yeah, so when you have skills, good managers, then you use them in that way, and then they do wonderful service. Everyone has some skill, and that skill can be used. There's some qualities, some outstanding abilities that can be used. Okay, anything else? Oh yeah, Sid, you had a question.
Yes, Maharaj, but you kind of answered it through like your explanations about the disagreements. I was just confused on the part where you're talking about the arguments when there's one focus, not personal interest, being spiritual, but arguments in general kind of hinder progress to an extent, and I don't understand how an argument being spiritual
Disagreements can be there, but arguments doesn't. Discuss things, don't argue. That's the point. Don't get to the point of arguing. Arguing means that, you have to accept what I say and I have to accept what you say. That's arguing. Discussions means let's see what the situation is and try to work it out where we can come to some conclusion. Why should there be arguments? Devotees don't argue, they can disagree and they can discuss. But with arguments there, that kind of blocks everything. And people get frustrated when they see people arguing. Then people who are not involved in that, they get discouraged and they go away. There was one devotee, I don't want to say this, this is the way it used to be in ISKCON, maybe it is in some areas too. One young man, he was coming to the temple, and he was coming regularly, and he was coming for a long time, coming to the programs, taking prasadam, participating. And after a while, some of the leaders said to him, "You're coming, but you're never joining. Why don't you, come forward and join? You're very enthusiastic for everything." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I like to continue to be a guest, because the way you treat your guests are very nice, but the way you treat each other, I don't want to become a member of it." I can say that. Yeah. Yeah, we always treat guests very nice, but once we get in, then, all right, it's different. So he said, "I want to stay a guest because you treat me really nicely." So it shouldn't be like that. Yeah. So this is a very sensitive topic, and it's a very important topic at the same time. And it's a very difficult topic to really understand completely. Therefore, it's when Prabhupada was asked, he said, "When you leave, Prabhupada, how can we serve you in such a way to please you?" He said, "You can please me by working together to push on, working together in a cooperative way to spread Krishna consciousness." That's what he said. To work together in a cooperative way. He used that word, to spread Krishna consciousness. Yeah, that pleases the spiritual master, and obviously we hear here how it pleases the Lord also. Okay. So we stop, or is there anything else? Okay, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Please give a big round of applause to Maharaj. I would like to thank our Sunday setup team today, like His Grace Sasagopal Prabhu and the team, and Ashok Prabhu. So please give a big round of applause to them. And we have actually like Mahesh Prabhu and Harika Mataji. They both had their anniversary yesterday. So we all